Hey everybody, welcome back to the Irish Hotspur. Jack here, and in this video I'm just going to be giving you my midfield three for Ange Postecoglou's side against Leicester City this upcoming Monday for our first match day of the Premier League season. Get ready for it, everybody. It's fast approaching here. Very, very busy week ahead of us on this channel. So if you can for me, please smash that like button and do get in those comments below what your midfield three should be against this Leicester team. But I've gone for a strange one here because with the current Basuma news, which I don't think we need to really touch on in this video, but we do have to come to terms with it that Basuma might not be available for the upcoming match against Leicester City. So I have to start with perhaps a different number six than most of us would have expected before the recent news. And I am going to go for Rodrigo Bentancur as my choice for the number six to kick things off with. Obviously, with Basuma out, and I think with Archie Gray, not looking maybe too comfortable yet in the number six role. I think, yes, it's only preseason, but it does feel like, he didn't look entirely ready or really didn't feel like he was totally comfortable with the system yet, Archie Gray, in that number six role. He played really well as a center back. I think he also showed what he can do as a right back in the system, but it felt like he still had some kind of iffy moments in the preseason. I know I'm only judging it on preseason. You might say it's harsh, but I think we want someone who might have a bit more familiarity with the position, or at least has played it in the past for this first game to get things started off right with 3 points against Leicester. And Bentancur has had some good performances as well as some bad performances in that number six role, but at least we know that there is a good performance in there. I think in the future, we'll start to see Archie Gray kind of be embedded in there, start to get more minutes than even maybe a Bentancur would in that position. But we want to start off things right with a guy who I think has a bit more familiarity with that position. And in a way, I think this is also a good opportunity for him to prove himself to Ange, as well as also this fan base. Bentancur did such a great job coming back from injury, and then when he did come back from injury, he played really well, but sadly was forced back to the sidelines after a really tough kind of moment with that second injury, and he then had to take another bit of time to come back. And since I think his second return from that injury just didn't exactly look the same player, he had a very good Copa America tournament. So I'm wondering if Bentancur can take advantage of this opportunity from the Basuma recent news and take that number six role for himself, at least for the time being, and at least show Ange Postecoglou that he is also able to play that role as well as the number eight role just fine for him. And he can pick up the ball, as we know, under pressure. He has lovely bit of skill, lovely bit of feet, Bentancur, in those tight areas. And in case Leicester City do ever decide to press us in certain situations, I think he can handle the ball under pressure with his back to goal or with his back to a defender under that bit of pressure like Basuma can. And he can get turned very quickly with that tight feet of his like Basuma does as well. He knows how to carry it through midfield in kind of a very similar kind of silky way to that of Yves Basuma. And we know that he's very defensively strong, Bentancur. He has no problem putting in a tackle on his opponent. And I think he does see danger really well. I think we saw that when he played under Antonio Conte as well as with Højbjerg, in that midfield too, in that 3-4-3 system. I always thought that Bentancur had a really good defensive presence to him. And in that number six role, where he will be likely, more responsible for trying to take out any sort of counterattacks or transitions from Leicester City, I think he'll understand kind of the responsibilities of that. Even cast your mind back to, I think, that Chelsea game under Antonio Conte, where he put in that brilliant tackle. I think it was on Kai Havertz at the time to save us from a goal towards the end of the game there. And I think Bentancur can do that against Steve Cooper's side. He can also win a header from corners, set pieces, or just defensively. So in case they do go for that long ball approach, or in case they are going to be more reliant on set pieces, this Leicester City team, I think Bentancur could be really useful for that, because Spurs recently have looked, again, really shaky and really concerning from defending set pieces. And someone like Bentancur, I think, could help us out. But also, I think he can technically win a header and be that extra goal threat in certain situations from either a set piece or a corner, because we have seen him score some goals in the past for us in those type of moments. And he also knows how to carry it past a couple of players if need be, kind of go on, again, those sort of Basuma-esque runs where he might take it past two or three players and end up in the opponent's penalty area. And then from there, you never know with Bentancur. He can pop up with a goal if the opportunity were to arise for him. So I actually like the idea of him sitting really deep against this Leicester City team if need be, but also venturing forward when he sees the chance and when he thinks the opportunity arises for him. He'll understand, I think, how to find that balance between defending those counterattacks while also kind of being that presence going forward and not just being, kind of defensively responsible. He'll know kind of how to, be creative in those positions, but also how to protect us as well. And he can also start off games really strongly, Bentancur. He has that sort of intensity in his game. He knows how to get into that dog-like mentality, and he has really strong energy levels when beginning games, and he'll really probably put in that emphasis as well as kind of that influence on the rest of his teammates when it comes to the press that Ange Postecoglou will want from his midfielder. So I really like the idea of having a very energetic and hopefully focused Bentancur playing this number 6 role against this Leicester City side. Moving on, we're going to go on to the number 8 role, and this is where maybe some people might be surprised by my choice here, but I have gone for Lucas Bergvall instead of Pop Matasar. Sar, I don't feel like has actually looked his best this preseason. Again, that might seem harsh because I am only judging it by preseason, but I feel like we need to find a way to get Lucas Bergvall into this team. And probably already alluding to who I might be picking in that number 10 position, but Bergvall has played so well so far that we do need to find a position for him, I think, in these upcoming games. And I don't think he should be left on the bench personally. I think he's played his way into the starting 11, and Sar can be probably better suited for a more defensive type of game where we will need those extra legs. We will need someone who can get up and down like he can, and also see the danger defensively and help us out in that regard. And I just think in this game, we're going to need that bit of extra je ne sais quoi, as Dave likes to put it, that bit of extra creativity from our midfielders. And Sar, I think it's an area of his game that he is probably still working on. I'm not saying he isn't creative, but I think Lucas Bergvall, you could argue, is that bit more creative than someone like a Pop Matasar, especially against a low block, very defensive-minded Steve Cooper team. I think Bergvall would be a good player to have in this midfield, and his combination of work rate, defensively, I mean, as well as that creativity in his game, I think would be really necessary against this low block Leicester City side. He can get up and down just like Sar can. I'm not sure if he can do it as well, but we have seen that he can lead the press really well, Lucas Bergvall. So I like the idea of having him as this kind of box-to-box number 8 who also has maybe that number 10 like creativity from midfield. And he also technically, if Kulusevski were to play on the right wing, we would have more of a Swedish connection on the right side, where normally it feels like the number 8 does play alongside that right winger. So I like the idea of Kulusevski, in a sense, playing on the right wing if we're going to start Dominic Solanke up top in this upcoming match, and then have Lucas Bergvall kind of close to Kulusevski on that right side, and they should have that chemistry, you would think, between each other. Moving on to the number 10 role, I am going to go for James Madison. I understand that I've been very critical of Madison. I think Dave has as well, since basically his return from injury and going into this preseason. But I wonder if, kind of bearing in mind what preseason kind of holds, it is kind of for fitness. And I've said before, I'm trying not to be too harsh with some of the players that I mentioned before with what I've seen from them in preseason. I have been pretty harsh on Madison so far, so I'm going to give him kind of another chance here. I think it's a good final kind of warning before maybe Ange Postecoglou really starts considering dropping him. He's coming up against his former team. You would like to think that he'd be motivated to put in a really star performance against them. And defensively, I don't think it's as important to have someone like a Bergvall in the number 10 role. Bergvall did such a better job than Madison, in my opinion, on the defensive side of things and not getting kind of, I think, sort of caught up in too far up the pitch. And he also just showed more effort levels, I think, in leading the press from that midfield role than Madison did. But I'm not too sure if that's really necessary in a game like this. When I've seen Steve Cooper's team, it's very defensive. It's almost practically in the dark ages, it felt like, when it came to how low block and defensive his team was for Nottingham Forest against us in particular. I remember felt like his team never even left their own half when they played us with Ange Postecoglou just this last season. So I wonder if it is going to be a very similar defensive setup this time around for him. And I think it would be good to have two creative kind of number 10 like presence, midfielders in our team and in our midfield three. So having a combination of Bergvall as well as Madison, we haven't necessarily seen yet. We've been kind of deciding between Bergvall or Madison in this midfield. And I wonder if Ange Postecoglou might go with both, or if any of you guys would consider going with both in this midfield and ahead of this game. I think he can also be an extra goal threat, Madison. We know that he has a decent set piece on him. When he is playing well, he can whip in a very good cross. He can also, as well, technically hit in a free kick if he is feeling at his best. And also, he knows how to dribble past players. He can carry it into the penalty area. He can have that bit of creativity, that bit of skill to take it past his man. And then from there, we know he can play those really nice slip through balls into either Dominic Solanke, who some people think Madison has been probably needing a striker like a Dominic Solanke to play off of. And then he also can find those runs from Sonny and behind as well. And just having two creative presences kind of next to each other in Bergvall and Madison, who can both play similar passes in behind the defense or even over the top, I think would be really helpful to have, not just having one of them. And technically, he does have that long shot on him. These are all kind of references, I would say, to the Madison of old, the Madison we saw in the first 10 games of the season, but also the Madison that we technically bought from Leicester City, who was supposed to be one of the best creative number 10s in the Premier League, not even English number 10s, but just in general in the Premier League. There's a reason that we got this guy for around 50 million pounds, if I'm remembering correctly. So this guy, if we can get him back to his best and we can start to see some of the attributes that we originally got him for, I think this is a good chance to, to throw him into the team again and just see if he can get back to his best here. And I think he offers that goal threat that might be necessary against a low block Leicester City side where he can hit them in from distance. He can cross the ball as well. He can play those slip through balls and he can take it past his man as well. And I think all of that could be a really good combination to have alongside a Bergvall as well as a Bentancur, kind of three guys in the midfield who can technically pop up with a goal for us if necessary. Now, I would say if we were to start Madison, I'd actually rather start him in a game like this than actually bring him on as a sub, where it might feel like if we were to get a goal or two early in the game, we could then look to take him off later in the second half and bring on more defensive type presence people to kind of see out the rest of the game. We could put on a Pop Matasar, move Bergvall into the number 10 role. We could technically, if Kulusevski doesn't start instead of Johnson, we could have Kulusevski come into the team and offer a bit more defensive presence than what Madison would in that number 10 role. And also Archie Gray, who we would be technically dropping for Bentancur. We could have him come in and kind of shore things up defensively for us. So I think with Madison, I'd actually rather see him start for the reasons of if we are to try to go ahead early, grab kind of that convincing sort of 1-0, 2-goal kind of cushion ahead of this Leicester City team. I think then later on you can look to take him off and offer a bit more defensive presence with some of the other midfielders that we'd be leaving on the bench. But that about does it on this video, everybody. So I'm going to leave it there. That's my midfield three. It is going to be Bentancur, Madison, and Bergvall. Let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you kind of see some of the logic and some of the players that I've chosen for this midfield three. Let me know if you have a different one in the comments below. Smash the like button for me. Would love to see you guys on the fan show later tonight because it is season predictions time. So definitely a great opportunity to make your debut. Or if you are a regular, come on, please keep us company and give us your hot takes, your season predictions ahead of this one. But we'll be leaving you there, everybody. Come on, you Spurs. In the big Ange we trust, and we never stop. See ya.